The conviction was fast. Too fast. Before anyone could fully explain how a man vanished on his way to work, before a body was found, before a clear timeline even existed, someone was already sitting in a courtroom, listening to a guilty verdict. And that alone made this case feel wrong, because the man who left for work that morning was never seen again. And years later, the truth would prove far more disturbing than anyone imagined. Michael Turner woke up at 5:42 a.m. The alarm buzzed twice before he shut off. Same routine, same house, same quiet street. He showered, put on his navy blue work shirt, kissed his wife Rachel on the forehead as she pretended to sleep. He poured coffee into a travel mug, grabbed his lunch from the fridge, and stepped out into the cool morning air. At 6:18 a.m., Michael backed his car out of the driveway. That was the last confirmed sighting of him alive. Michael Turner was 41, a logistics supervisor at a regional distribution center. He never called in sick, never showed up late, never disappeared, which is why, when he didn't arrive by 7 a.m., his co-workers noticed. By 7:30, his supervisor called his phone. No answer. By 8:15, they called Rachel. She laughed at first, said maybe traffic was bad, maybe he stopped for gas. But by noon, that laugh was gone. Michael Turner had vanished. At 2:47 p.m., police located Michael's vehicle, parked neatly in a commuter lot near the interstate. Engine off, doors locked. Inside were his lunch, his coffee mug, his phone dead battery. No blood, no damage, no sign of a struggle. It looked like he had parked the car himself and walked away. But Michael had no reason to be there. That lot wasn't on his route, and no one ever saw him leave it. Traffic cameras should have caught him. They didn't. License plate readers showed Michael entering the highway, but there was no record of him exiting, as if his car had slipped off the road without being seen, or been moved later. Investigators couldn't agree. Rachel Turner, the wife, the person everyone always looks at first. She had no alibi between 6:30 and 9 a.m. She admitted they'd argued the night before, about money, about stress, about Michael wanting to change jobs, but nothing violent, nothing threatening, just marriage. Still, police pressed, because 3 weeks later, something changed everything. In a wooded area 12 miles from the commuter lot, a hiker found something, a work boot, Michael's size, same brand he wore every day. Nearby, investigators recovered his belt, folded, placed, not torn, not scattered, placed. No body was found. But prosecutors didn't hesitate. They said it proved foul play, and they said they knew who was responsible. According to police, Rachel killed Michael during their argument. They claimed she transported his body, disposed of it, and staged the car. But there was no blood, no weapon, no forensic evidence in the house, and no explanation for how she moved a grown man without being seen. Still, she was arrested, charged, and put on trial. The prosecution leaned on motive, money troubles, life insurance, marital stress. They introduced a neighbor who claimed to hear shouting. They introduced a co-worker who said Michael seemed afraid. But no one explained where the body was, or why Michael's phone last pinged after Rachel was already at work. That detail barely made headlines. After 6 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict. Guilty. Rachel Turner collapsed. She was sentenced to 25 years. Michael Turner was legally declared dead, but no one could say how, or when, or where his body was. 2 years after the conviction, a new investigator reviewed the case and noticed something small, almost invisible. Michael's phone record showed a text sent at 6:49 a.m. from Michael's phone to an unknown number. It said, "I see him. Something's wrong." Rachel was already at work. Security footage confirmed it. She couldn't have sent it, and Michael shouldn't have been alive. The phone number Michael texted wasn't in his contacts. It was a prepaid burner, activated the night before he vanished, used only twice, once to receive a call, once to receive that message. And then it went dark. Investigators rechecked commuter lot footage, enhanced it, slowed it down, and finally saw something they missed the first time. At 6:44 a.m., a man approached Michael's car. They didn't argue. They didn't fight. Michael unlocked the door and stepped out willingly. The man's face was partially obscured, but his posture was familiar, unmistakable. It was someone Michael knew. The man was wearing a uniform, not a police uniform, not security, a company jacket, from Michael's workplace, the distribution center. Someone from inside his daily life. Someone who knew his schedule. Someone who knew where to find him. Rachel Turner sits in prison, convicted without a body, without a cause of death, without the full story. Michael Turner's last message still echoes. I see him. Something's wrong. And the man on the camera? He was never identified because the footage vanished from evidence storage 2 months later. Deleted, misfiled, gone. The footage wasn't lost. That was the first lie. Evidence doesn't simply disappear from a police evidence locker. Not without help, not without intent, and not without someone signing off on it. Because that grainy video, the one showing Michael Turner calmly stepping out of his car to meet a man from his workplace, was the only proof that Rachel Turner didn't kill her husband, and someone made sure no one ever saw it again. Detective Alan Reeves had been on the job for 26 years. He'd seen bad cases, lazy cases, corrupt cases, but the Turner file felt different because everything that should have mattered didn't. No body, no blood, no crime scene, yet a woman was in prison, and a man was legally dead. Reeves wasn't assigned a case. He volunteered. And the first question he asked wasn't who killed Michael Turner. It was who decided Rachel Turner was guilty before the evidence existed. Reeves requested the original commuter lot video. He didn't get it. Instead, he received a report stating the footage had been accidentally overwritten during routine system maintenance. That explanation didn't hold, because a digital audit showed the file had been accessed after the case was closed. Accessed, reviewed, then manually deleted by someone with administrative privileges, someone inside the department. One name kept surfacing in the metadata: Sergeant Paul Hendricks, evidence supervisor, 20 years on the force, respected, untouchable. He was the same officer who signed off on Rachel Turner's arrest warrant, the same officer who approved the theory that Michael was dead, and the same officer who declared the case resolved without a body. Coincidence didn't feel likely anymore. Michael Turner worked with dozens of people. Only 3 were questioned. Only 1 testified. And 1 was never interviewed at all. His name was Jason Miles, shift manager, Michael's direct supervisor, last person to speak to him the night before he vanished. Jason told police Michael seemed on edge, but that statement never made it into trial testimony because Jason wasn't called, because Jason left town. 2 days after Michael disappeared, phone records revealed something else. At 6:32 a.m., 14 minutes after Michael left his driveway, he received a call from a number registered to the distribution center, a landline. That call lasted 90 seconds. There was no official record of it. No supervisor admitted to making it, and yet Michael answered. That call placed him exactly where his car was later found. Reeves reconstructed the morning minute by minute. Michael didn't detour. He was redirected. Someone told him to stop. Someone he trusted. Someone who sounded urgent. Someone who said it couldn't wait. Michael parked, waited, and when the man approached him on camera, he didn't hesitate. That wasn't fear. That was recognition. The text message, "I see him. Something's wrong," wasn't sent to a stranger. It was sent to Jason Miles. The burner phone had been purchased under a fake name, but payment records told the truth. Jason bought it the night before Michael vanished. Reeves presented a new theory. Michael discovered something at work, something big enough that management panicked, big enough that someone decided Michael couldn't go to work that day and couldn't go home either. A financial audit of the distribution center revealed missing inventory, millions of dollars worth, over several years, falsified shipping records, Ghost deliveries, fake signatures. Someone inside was skimming. And Michael Turner, meticulous, by the book, impossible to manipulate, had started asking questions. Jason Miles admitted, off the record, to a co-worker that he'd handled the Michael situation. Those words were overheard, whispered, and eventually reported. When confronted, Jason denied everything, but his timeline didn't match. He claimed to be at home when Michael vanished. Cell phone data placed him near the commuter lot. At the exact moment Michael stepped out of his car, investigators searched an abandoned warehouse once leased by the company. Hidden beneath a false floor, they found something chilling, a personal item. Michael's watch, scratched, cracked, stopped at 7:03 a.m. Forensic experts examined the watch. Traces of blood were found inside the casing, not enough to identify a body, but enough to confirm injury. Michael didn't vanish peacefully. Something happened after that parking lot meeting. Something violent. In prison, Rachel received a visit. Detective Reeves sat across from her, and for the first time, he didn't accuse. He apologized. He told her about the footage, the call, the burner phone. Rachel didn't cry. She stared at the table and whispered, "I told him he wouldn't leave me." The district attorney refused to reopen the case. Too much time had passed. Too many reputations were on the line. Admitting error would unravel dozens of convictions tied to Sergeant Hendrick's oversight. The system chose itself. Again, someone inside leaked the audit, then the phone records, then the deleted footage logs. Media exploded. Public pressure mounted. Rachel Turner's case became a symbol, not just of a missing man, but of a justice system willing to fill gaps with assumptions. Jason Miles vanished. He didn't show up for work, didn't answer calls, didn't pack his apartment. His car was found at a rest stop, keys inside, phone left behind, history repeating itself. Before disappearing, Jason withdrew a large sum of money, transferred from an offshore account tied to the distribution center. Someone paid him, not to kill Michael, but to remove him. And Rachel? She was collateral, a convenient answer. Michael Turner is still missing. Rachel Turner is still incarcerated, pending appeal. Jason Miles is gone, and Sergeant Paul Hendricks has retired, quietly, without charges, without questions, without consequences. Jason Miles vanished, just like Michael Turner. No goodbye, no note, no explanation. And that was the moment investigators realized this case wasn't unraveling. It was closing in on something dangerous, because disappearances don't come in pairs by accident. Jason's car was found at mile marker 214. Engine cold, gas tank half full, driver's door unlocked. It looked staged, too clean, too deliberate. Inside the car, detectives found something chilling, a folded receipt. Date: 3 hours after Jason was officially reported missing. Location: a gas station 2 counties away, meaning Jason was alive, moving, and someone wanted it to look like he wasn't. Jason's phone was wiped, almost perfectly, but almost wasn't good enough. A forensic analyst recovered fragments, not messages, not calls, audio, a partial voicemail draft. Jason's voice was shaking. "If anything happens to me, check the river site." He wasn't supposed to. The recording cut out. The timestamp was 12 minutes before his phone went dark. The river site wasn't secret. It was a decommissioned loading dock used by the distribution company in the early 2000s. Concrete pillars, rusting cranes, no security cameras. Exactly the kind of place you'd choose if you didn't want witnesses or bodies. Search teams were deployed. Divers went in. What they found made national headlines. At the riverbed, lodged between debris, divers found a bone fragment. Human, male, and old enough to have been underwater for years. Too long to be Jason. Too recent to be unrelated. DNA testing confirmed it. The bone belonged to Michael Turner, the man declared dead without a body, the man whose wife was in prison, the man who was never supposed to be found. Prosecutors rushed to reassert control. They claimed the bone proved their original theory. Michael was dead. Rachel killed him. Case closed. But they moved too fast, because the bone told a different story. Forensic experts noticed something strange. The bone had surgical markings. Clean, precise, not from an attack, not from an accident, from a medical procedure. Michael didn't die violently, at least not immediately. He survived long enough for someone to operate on him. Investigators quietly cross-checked hospital admissions, private clinics, emergency rooms, out-of-state facilities. One place stood out, a small surgical center that specialized in off-the-books procedures. Cash only, no insurance, minimal records. 3 days after Michael vanished, they treated a man listed as John T. Age, height, blood type, all matched Michael Turner. The surgeon initially denied everything until they showed him the bone. His hands shook. He didn't know the man's name, he said, only that he'd been brought in unconscious, with orders. Keep him alive. Stabilize him. No questions. Payment had been wired in advance. From an offshore account. The same account tied to the missing company funds. Michael Turner wasn't killed. He was removed, taken out of his life, out of his marriage, out of the system, and replaced with a narrative that destroyed the person closest to him. Rachel. Investigators revisited Rachel's interrogation tapes with fresh eyes. She never described a fight, never described violence. She described confusion, shock, and something else. Fear, but not of Michael. Fear of being watched. One line stood out. They said if I talked, he'd never come back. At the time, police thought she meant guilt. Now, it sounded like a warning. Prison logs revealed something else. Rachel had received a visitor, not listed in the system. No badge scan, no name, just a timestamp. 2 weeks after her conviction. Rachel never mentioned it, because she was told not to. While reviewing archived evidence, a clerk found a misfiled envelope addressed to Rachel, never delivered. Inside was a single sentence. I'm alive, don't trust them. Signed with an initial, M. The postmark was dated 4 months after Michael vanished. Michael Turner didn't disappear to escape his life. He disappeared because he was forced to. He uncovered financial crimes so massive they required silence, permanent silence. But killing him would raise questions, so they erased him instead and blamed Rachel. Sergeant Paul Hendricks didn't just oversee evidence. He was listed as a consultant for the distribution company, paid quietly for security coordination. He didn't delete the footage to hide a murder. He deleted it to hide a handoff. Michael wasn't meeting Jason. He was being taken. Investigators traced the offshore account one last time. It led somewhere unexpected. A humanitarian NGO, medical aid, disaster relief, a shell, and listed as a board advisor, Michael Turner, under a different name, different country, different life. Michael wasn't just alive. He was being used. Did Michael agree to disappear? Or was he trapped in a life he never chose? And most haunting of all, does Rachel know the full truth? Or was her sacrifice part of the deal? Rachel Turner's appeal is underway. The bone is back in evidence. Jason Miles has not been found. Paul Hendricks has vanished from public records. And somewhere in the world, a man who left for work one ordinary morning is still breathing, still running, and still hiding from the truth. Michael Turner was alive. That was the last truth anyone thought they'd hear. But it was only the beginning, because the moment investigators confirmed his name on that NGO board, everything collapsed. 3 days after the revelation broke, Rachel Turner was woken at 3:17 a.m. Prison guards stood at her cell. Not hostile, not rushed, quiet. She was told only one thing: you're being transferred. No explanation, no paperwork shown, just handcuffs and silence. Rachel knew immediately. This wasn't routine. This was panic. They didn't take her to court. They didn't take her to another facility. They took her underground, a federal building. No signage, no windows. She was led into a room with a single table, 2 chairs, and a man she hadn't seen in 8 years, Michael Turner. Older, thinner, alive. Rachel didn't cry. She didn't faint. She screamed, a sound so raw it made the agent step back. Michael flinched, not because of guilt, because of fear. He raised his hands like he was being arrested. "Please," he said, "I didn't know they'd do this to you." That was the moment the story broke apart. Michael talked fast, too fast, like someone afraid the truth might disappear if he paused. He said he uncovered illegal offshore transfers. He said the company wasn't just laundering money. They were funding disappearances, witness removals, identity rewrites, human logistics. People didn't die. They were erased. Michael said when he tried to report it, they intercepted him. The choice was simple: disappear, or everyone you love suffers. Rachel was supposed to be protected. That was the deal. Michael said they promised him something. Rachel would be questioned, cleared, released. He would resurface years later. Clean, safe. He didn't know they needed a conviction. He didn't know she would be the payment. Investigators didn't interrupt. They let him talk because they already knew something he didn't. The offshore account, the NGO, the board seat. Michael didn't just disappear. He was paid millions, stipends, housing, medical care, protection. He wasn't a hostage. He was an asset. Rachel stood up. Her hands were shaking. "You let me rot," she said. Michael tried to explain, but there was no explanation left, because the next revelation was worse. Jason Miles didn't vanish by accident. Michael knew Jason. They met months before Michael disappeared. Jason was auditing the same accounts. They planned to go public together, but Jason hesitated. Michael didn't. Jason tried to back out, and someone noticed. Michael admitted it slowly. He told the handlers Jason knew too much. He said he'd flag him. He didn't think they'd kill Jason. But Jason never showed up again. And that receipt, it wasn't Jason buying gas. It was Michael's handler using Jason's card to frame the timeline. Michael realized too late. He wasn't being protected. He was being used to select targets. Anyone connected to him. Anyone who knew. Anyone who asked questions. Rachel, Jason, others. Agent slid a folder across the table. Inside were names, dates, disappearances, some unsolved, some ruled suicides, some accidents. Every single one connected to Michael's work. Michael collapsed. He hadn't survived the system. He had become part of it. The NGO wasn't a cover. It was a recruitment funnel. Michael wasn't a victim. He was a filter. And the bone found in the river? It wasn't proof of death. It was a message to Michael: you don't leave. Rachel's conviction wasn't collateral damage. It was leverage. If Michael ever spoke, Rachel would stay buried. If he complied, she would be forgotten, alive, but erased. Rachel asked one question: why now? An agent answered: because Michael was scheduled for termination. The NGO was shutting down. Loose ends were being erased. Michael wasn't meant to be exposed. He was meant to disappear again, this time for real. Michael was offered immunity, protection, a new identity, again, in exchange for full cooperation. Every name, every location, every transaction. Rachel watched him, the man she once trusted, the man who left for work and never came back. And she realized something terrifying. Michael wasn't running from them anymore. He was running from himself. Michael agreed to testify, publicly. No mask, no distortion, no disappearance. If he was going down, he was dragging the truth with him. Rachel Turner's conviction is under emergency review. Jason Miles is officially listed as presumed murdered. The NGO has gone dark. 3 federal agents have resigned. And Michael Turner? He is alive. He is exposed. And for the first time since the morning he left for work, he is not protected. Someone was watching Rachel Turner walk free. That wasn't paranoia. It was confirmed. At 6:12 p.m., less than an hour after her release paperwork was signed, a black sedan appeared at the end of the street outside the halfway house. Engine running. Lights off. Windows tinted. It stayed there for 17 minutes. Then it vanished. Just like everything else connected to this case, Rachel didn't sleep. Freedom felt unreal. Too quiet, too exposed. She sat on the edge of the bed, shoes still on, staring at the door like it might open on its own. For 8 years, her life had been scheduled. Lights out, counts, noise. Now there was silence, and silence felt dangerous. At 1:44 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She didn't answer. It buzzed again. Then a text appeared. They're not done. No signature. No explanation. Just 5 words that erased any sense of relief. At the same time, in a secure federal safe house 2 states away, alarms went off. Michael Turner's room was empty. The bed untouched. The bathroom dry. The window cracked open. No blood. No struggle. Just a single thing left behind. A folded note on the table. It read, "You said this would end." Michael Turner had vanished again, but this time there was no plan. Federal officials went silent. Press briefings were canceled. Witness protection was temporarily suspended. That never happens, ever. And Rachel wasn't told any of this. She was kept in the dark, on purpose. 3 days later, an investigative journalist named Eli Navarro published an article. It was short, too short, but contained one sentence that detonated everything. Sources confirmed the Turner case may involve a classified continuity program designed to simulate civilian deaths. Simulate, not fake, not staged, simulated. That word changed everything. Behind closed doors, agents whispered about it. A long-buried initiative, one that officially didn't exist. An operation that began decades ago. Its purpose? Test how completely a human life could be erased. Families, records, memories, and more importantly, how the public would react when the truth never came. Michael Turner wasn't the first. He was just the one who broke pattern. Jason Miles wasn't killed. That receipt, the gas station footage, the bone fragment, all part of the same protocol. Jason was reassigned, alive, hidden, and Michael had known that possibility all along. He just never believed it would happen to him. Rachel was contacted by a woman calling herself Merrill. No last name, no credentials shown, just meeting place, a public library. Middle of the day, Merrill didn't sit. She stood over Rachel and said something that made the room spin. "You weren't framed," she said. "You were selected." Rachel didn't understand. Merrill explained. The conviction was the experiment. Could the system erase someone publicly? Could it rewrite reality so completely that the wrong answer became accepted truth? Rachel Turner wasn't collateral damage. She was proof of concept. Michael hadn't disappeared to survive. He disappeared to expose it. He took evidence. Hard copies, names, program manuals. He knew if he stayed under protection, it would all vanish. So he ran, and now they were hunting him. Rachel began noticing patterns. The same man on 2 different streets. The same woman in 3 separate stores. People watching without hiding it. This wasn't covert. This was intimidation. A reminder, you're free because we allow it. Rachel received another text, this time with coordinates, and a photo, Michael Turner, alive, bleeding. The coordinates led to an abandoned data center, one that had been decommissioned years earlier. Inside, Rachel found something no civilian was ever meant to see. Rows of servers, identity archives, thousands of names, each tagged, active, retired, erased. She found hers. Status, failed termination. Jason's, active. Michael's, unstable. Michael had left her a message, recorded, shaky, honest. They can't kill the program, he said, but they can't stop it if it's exposed. He had uploaded everything, timed release, public dump, but only if Rachel approved it. If she didn't, it would all disappear again. Merrill wasn't a whistleblower. She was oversight, sent to stop the leak. Rachel had been given freedom, not as justice, but as bait. Michael was drawing them out, and Rachel was the anchor. Rachel had minutes to decide, expose the truth and disappear forever, or stay silent and let the system reset. She looked at her name on the screen. 8 years erased, a life stolen, a truth buried, and she pressed send. The servers went dark. The upload went live. Names began trending. Disappearances reopened. And somewhere, Michael Turner stopped running, because the truth was finally louder than fear.